Okay, so we're going to talk about the channel line, the lower channel line, and how do you know where to buy it or when to buy it? And this, well, let's use this one here, this ABIL. So the stock is trending upwards here. We don't see this, of course. And so we get to make a channel line, and we make, and as it goes along, it pops, has this pop here. You have this channel line in, and then you have this wedge that you've drawn here. And so you can see that at the apex, the volume is drying up. And then when it breaks through the apex, it does pop out of the apex. But you can see that as it goes along, and we have to keep adjusting the trend line, it does pull back to the trend line. So the question is really, is this, how do you know when to buy it? Or where do you know when to buy the trend line? If it comes back and test it, because this actually shows it quite well. So now the buying of the lower channel quite often is a 50-50 trade, because we don't know if it's going to hold it or if it's going to roll over. And quite often you'll see they come into these channels, and especially if it's the lower price stocks, guys with big books will see exactly what we see is it's on the channel, and then maybe see the buying come into it, but it's, not looking that powerful, and they know that everybody's got stops just below it, so they'll come in and attack it with shorts, and they'll whack the shit out of it. And of course, this is like something like here, where it's, into this wedge formation, it's touched down to the channel, and they come in and attack it, and they just whack it. And but in this case, it did base and continue on, but I'm getting a bit off topic here. So how do we know that this is where to buy it, or what candle to look at? And normally what I'm looking for when I'm looking to buy on this channel line, and I think you nailed it on the head, Gordon, and that is really some a green bar coming down, touching it, and bouncing off it. As I was saying, this is a 50-50 trade. We don't know if this thing is, this is a wedge formation here, breaks the wedge, and then it goes, then it goes to here like this, and breaks the wedge. It's not always going to be a wedge. Sometimes it's just on the channel line like this here. And so, yeah, I'm not normally looking to buy one that's a red candle, but you don't know it's red until it's really, moved on to the next candle. But when it comes down to this line, and it's not an exact science too, so you got to be careful about that you're trading this as if this is an exact science. But if I was trading this and it comes down and touches this channel here, touches it here and here, this is where I'd be looking to buy, 793 with a view that it's going to break through 795, that it's going to break through the 8 and then, take off and go. So as long as it holds this channel, you can buy it. In this case here, it actually broke, well, let me rephrase that. So one of the things, it actually sort of broke this channel. It went just below it. And so I would have moved it. But again, this would have been, especially right at the apex of this, broke out and came back, and then it came back and tested this channel. That's where I'd be looking to buy this, in here, for sure. And then it takes off. So any of these green candles there. But you have to remember that this is two things. One, not an exact science, and two, it's a 50-50 trade. So if you're buying it on the trend line here, you want to have a pretty tight stop on it. If it goes, below the trend line, and quite often they'll spike down like that, you might not get out right at first, but then it'll have a bounce back up to the trend line, and you can get out then. But you want to be keeping your tights. You want to keep your tights in a knot. You want to keep your stops quite tight on these things, because you see when they break, they can break quite quickly to the downside, and you don't know where the downside goes. So